Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to all. Thank you so much for joining us today. In this 1.5 hour session, the speaker is going to talk about the latest features and functionality on Web of Science, journal citation reports and insights. We are glad to have Mr. Ching with us today. Okay,
Morning.
welcome. Yeah, morning. Okay. This webinar will be recorded and we will send you a copy of the recording after the session. If you have any question, please type them in the chat box or unmute your WebEx. The question will be addressed by the speaker after the presentation. To give you a brief introduction to our speaker, Mrs. Chuling is a regional solution consultant at Clarivate Analytics. She is highly skilled in solution scoping, customer success, bibliometrics, management, business development, and marketing strategy. Her vast experience in this field made her a strong consulting professional with a Bachelor of Business in Business Administration focused in marketing from RMIT University. So without further ado, over to you, Mr. Chuling.
Thank you. Thank you, Puan Sharifah.
Welcome.
Okay, a very good morning, everyone. I hope everyone is well and safe. So for today's session, it will be very much focused on what are the latest features and functionalities on Web of Science, journal citation reports, as well as insights. So I will be sharing a few slides, but majority of my time will be on the live platform to show you exactly where to click for some of these exciting new features. All right, so let me just stop my video and share my screen. Okay. Puan Sharifah, can you confirm that you can see my screen? I'm sharing the Web of Science web page.
Yeah, I can see it clearly.
Okay, great. Thank you. So let me just put in the chat. Okay. So as I go through the session, I'm not sure whether the participants can unmute themselves to ask questions, but I'm happy to take questions live or in the chat or even in the Q&A panel. Keep the questions coming in through the session. Don't keep it to the end because it will benefit if we have those questions specific to the areas which I'm presenting at that time. Okay, so let me just share my slide. So just in case anyone here on the call is pretty new to Web of Science or even Clarivate. So for Clarivate, we are a data company, and what we have provided UMT with is 3 solutions that are for research purposes. So the first tool is called Web of Science, and the Web of Science is used by researchers for research discovery. So for example, if you want to be able to identify key journals as well as key articles to read for that specific field, Web of Science will be where you should be looking at. Then the other tool is the journal citation reports. So journal citation reports is the home of the journal impact factor. If you are familiar with journals, you should be familiar with the journal impact factor. Now, for journal citation reports this year, we have done a big revamp since the last publication in June. So later on, I'll be showing you what are some of the exciting new things that have come up for the journal citation reports. This tool is actually mainly used by researchers to identify the most suitable journals for their manuscript. So in the event where you are wondering where you should be publishing, which quartile, Q1, Q2, Q3, or Q4 journals, journal citation reports is where you should be looking at. Now, the third tool that UMT has access to is the Insights Benchmarking and Analytics tool, which takes the data from Web of Science into this analytical tool so that you can make further analysis around the bibliometric content that comes out from Web of Science. So just to give you an example, on Web of Science, you would see things like the publications. So each article will have their author's details, the citation counts. Okay? But on Insights, Benchmarking, and Analytics, we have additional metrics that you can see. And this would include things like the CNCI, which is the Category Normalized Citation Impact, which allows you to compare not just publications, but also institutions, countries, funding agencies, performance in publication. Okay, so without further ado, let us jump straight into today's session proper. So I'll have a few slides just to cover what is in each of these databases, and then we will jump into the live platform. So let's start with Web of Science. On Web of Science, we have indexed journals, and these would not just journals, so journals, conference proceedings, as well as books. Okay, and this makes up the Web of Science core collection. So only the Web of Science core collection is curated in-house by our Clarivate editorial team. This Web of Science core collection comprises of 4 journal indexes, which is the Science Citation Index Expanded, Social Science Citation Index, Arts and Humanities Citation Index, and Emerging Sources Citation Index. So these 4 indexes make up the journal indexes. We also then have the conference proceedings as well as the book citation index. Now the content actually goes all the way back to 1900, but for UMT access, I believe your subscription takes you back to 1975, if I remember correctly. But we can reconfirm that when you are able to access the live platform later on. So what makes Web of Science different? Okay, so Web of Science, one thing to take note of is Web of Science is not a full text database, but it is a citation index database. What does this mean? It means that the journals and the articles that are indexed in Web of Science, you will be able to see the title, the journal it comes from, the full authors list, the affiliation, as well as the abstract and the reference list. Okay. So Web of Science is used very much for quick discovery of relevant content. If you want to access full text content, there is a link available for you to go out, link out to full text. And I'll actually share with you a tool called EndNote Click that makes this even more convenient. Okay. One thing I wanted to emphasize about Web of Science is our editorial integrity. I think over the last 2 years, there has been a lot of conversations and debates around predatory publishing. So I wanted to emphasize that for Web of Science, we are committed to editorial integrity. When we are selecting journals to be indexed in Web of Science, we are publisher neutral because we do not publish any journals at all. Okay? And any journal, no matter whether they are open access or not open access, they are curated based on a standard set of criteria. We have 28 evaluation criteria, out of which 24 are quality criteria that all the journals have to minimally meet. Okay? If they miss out one criteria, they will not be indexed in Web of Science. The curation process is also a continuous process where even if a journal gets indexed in Web of Science, it has to maintain that quality standard that it had when it initially entered Web of Science with. In the event that the quality aspect is not met after a few years, we will be issuing a editorial expression of concern to those journals to let them know that, hey, please improve on your specific criteria so that you can maintain being indexed in Web of Science. If they do not meet those criteria, they will potentially be delisted from Web of Science as well. So that's why when any researchers are looking to index or publish their article in a journal, sometimes if they don't refer to the correct list, they might come back and say, hey, I thought that this journal was indexed in Web of Science in this year. How come I cannot see it now? Okay, the reason is because it might have already been delisted from Web of Science because of various reasons like not meeting certain criteria. Right? So how do we select the content to be indexed in Web of Science? Okay, this is something that I always like to spend a little bit more time to explain because a lot of researchers get confused as to which index is covered in Web of Science, which are not, and which have journal impact factor, which do not have. Okay, so I'm going to use this slide to help to clarify all these questions. So any journal that wants to be indexed in Web of Science has to go through an evaluation process. If they meet our 24 quality criteria, they will be indexed in the Emerging Sources Citation Index, ESCI. These journals come from various disciplines, so it covers all disciplines, and these journals have met all 24 quality criteria. If these journals actually meet an additional 4 more impact criteria, they will be indexed in our flagship specialized collections, which is the Science, Social Science, and Arts and Humanities Citation Index. Okay, so these 3 indexes will have journals that are specialized, that have met our 24 quality criteria, as well as our 4 impact criteria. Now, the next question is, which of these indexes have a journal impact factor? So only the Science and the Social Science Citation Index journals have a journal impact factor. So SCIE, SSCI, these are the 2 indexes that have a journal impact factor. Any other indexes here, there is no impact factor. However, we have included new journal metrics that would cover these 2 indexes as well, which I will share with you later on when I'm talking about journal citation reports. So I hope this helps to clarify the differences between the indexes. So if in the event that you have a question to find out whether a journal is indexed in Web of Science or not, you can always go into the Web of Science and search for the publication name. If the publication name exists, check that the content is up to the most recent years. Okay. Alternatively, you can also refer to this other website called Master Journal List, mjl.clarivate.com, which I will actually type into the chat box. So you can also refer to MJL, which is the Master Journal List that we keep up to date on a daily basis. So if any journals have been removed or included into Web of Science, they will be listed on Master Journal List. Okay. Now, sometimes you would have questions about when you are looking at Master Journal List, you say, hey, I managed to see this journal in Master Journal List. How come I cannot see it in Journal Citation Reports? Okay. Sometimes the reason could be because this journal has been newly indexed in Web of Science, and therefore it did not have the data to be included in the latest Journal Citation Reports yet. Therefore, it could not be seen in JCR. All right, so that could be one of the reasons. But in the event that you still need to seek clarification, you can always reach out to support.clarivate.com to get questions answered related to the content on any of our tools. Okay. All right, so now let me just go into the live platform. Are there any questions from anyone? Pertaining to this, feel free to unmute yourself to ask questions about what I've just presented. Anyone have any questions? No? All right, so then let's go into the live platform. So the Web of Science has actually gone through a major revamp over the past year and a half. Okay, up to March this year, you were still able to access both the old classic Web of Science and the new Web of Science. But as of today, actually as of March, you no longer have access to the classic Web of Science. So you are only able to access this new version of Web of Science for on your website. So something to take note of for the library staff, the URL for Web of Science has changed. So in the past, I think the old URL is some Web of Knowledge. I think there were some old URLs being used with Web of Knowledge. So just take note that the URL has now changed to www.webofscience.com moving forward. We are slowly phasing out all the old URLs. So it would be good if you can update the links on your library website with the new URLs. Okay. Now, for Web of Science, if you want to do a quick search, you might see that there are quite a lot of different databases here. So what you see might be different from what you have. Okay, so because for me, I have access to everything, but for today, we will stick to Web of Science core collection. Okay, if you want to check which years you have access to, you can click on the editions right here, and you will be able to see the year access that you start with. Okay, so it could be from 1975 onwards. If you want to do a quick search on a topic, okay, the field that you should be looking at is here. So you can do a topic search with some keywords. Okay, when you're doing a keyword search, what you are looking at is its appearance in the title, the abstract, and also keywords used by the author. Okay, so I'm going to use an example here. Let's say marine biology. I will just do a quick search. Or let's do marine and microplastics search. Okay, let's do a search here. You can also add an additional row to limit your query further. So you can use this tool here to add a row. There's a connector for and or not, and then you can add an additional field here. Okay, one example is the published year. So say, for example, I only want to see 2011 to 2022. Then we do a search. So this gives me 2,702 results for marine microplastic topic. You can limit your search further by doing a search within the search results here. So if you want to see its effect on, say, shrimp, okay, then you can do a search on shrimp, and that limits down your search results to 45. Then these are all the papers that are talking about marine microplastics and shrimp. Okay. Now, there are a few filters here that you can utilize. Okay, for UMT, you have access to this filter called highly cited papers, which can be quite important if you are looking for a potential collaborator in this field. Okay, checking out the highly cited papers for this topic itself limits you down to important papers, and these are papers where their authors are perhaps experts in that field. Okay. So these highly cited papers are defined as the top 1% citation papers for that particular field. Now, on the web search results page, we have a few upgrades. Okay, there is a new tab here called You May Also Like. So You May Also Like is based on an AI algorithm that will surface in related content for you based on your search string here. So some of these articles may not have mentioned any of these keywords, but based on AI, they perhaps have been co-cited. That means they have been frequently cited together, and therefore we have surfaced these additional content for you to refer to. Okay. We have also improved the sort functionality. So it is now by default sort by relevance. Okay. And we have also added new sort functionality. So in the event that you want to find sort this by first author, by name, by publication title, these are all possible now. Okay. We also recently just added this sort functionality called citation class, where it is making use of this new feature called enriched cited references. So what is enriched cited references? These are basically, have you ever wondered, out of that perhaps 50 references used by this paper, which of them have been mentioned in the text and where have they been mentioned? Okay, so enriched cited references will tell you where references have been mentioned in the text of the article. So this sort functionality called citation class is actually talking about the frequency of this article being mentioned in background, basis, support, defer, or discuss sections. Okay. Now, to give you a glimpse of what these enriched cited references are, what we can do is go into this record. Okay. And I'll explain about this record first. Okay. So as you can see here on the bottom left, there is this link called this purple tab called View PDF. this is EndNote Click working in the background. So for those who are new, who have never used EndNote Click before, I would recommend that you install this onto your web browser so that you can immediately retrieve full text when available. So how would you install this EndNote Click? What you can do is go to Products, the top right-hand corner here, and then go to EndNote Click. Follow the instructions on the screen, and you can install this onto your web browser. Okay. So once you have installed this, if there's a PDF full text available, you can click View PDF. Okay, and it will start to retrieve the full text PDF for you. And this is the article. And you can then save this and download it into your PC or export this to your EndNote. You can even share this with your friends. Okay. So let me come back to this article. So on the record pages of Web of Science, a few things have changed. So on the right-hand side, you would see that there are also additional recommendations of articles. So there are more content being surfaced so that you can make sure that you're not missing out on good information. Okay. The citation network is still there on the right-hand side. Okay. And you will be able to immediately click through to the citation results. As you scroll down the list, scroll down the record, you would see all the author's information, where they are from, and there's also a corresponding email address for the corresponding author. The funding agency information has also been enhanced. Okay, so if in the event that there is funding information, funding details provided to us by funding agencies around things like the grant award number or even the grant value and the dollar amount, that will also be reflected under the funding data information. Okay, this is continuously being updated and upgraded, so you can continue to see this content. We also have journal information here. So for UMT, you actually have journal citation reports, and that's why you are able to see this particular tab here, where it will show you which journal it is coming from. And if you click on this, the journal's title, you will see the quartile information for that journal as well as the journal impact factor. Okay. Now, when earlier on we were talking about these enriched cited reference. Okay, so this is the new feature that we have for records in Web of Science. It is in beta phase, so not every article currently has this, but majority of the open access articles should have this enriched cited references. So to look at this data, what you can see here is this diagram. Okay, just remove the size. So in this diagram, you can see these little dots on the graph. And what this means is that the reference has been mentioned in these various segments. So there's introduction, materials and methods, results and discussions. So if you click in view in text mentions, it will take some time to pull out, but it will show you where this particular reference has been mentioned in the text. Okay. If you want to open up this particular section, oops, sorry. So if I expand this section, okay, I can see this a bit more clearly. Let's try this one. So because we're still updating, we're updating some content in the background, so sometimes there might be a bit of a delay. Okay, so I'll just leave it first. Okay, so here it is. So when I click on it, it will show me the reference in the list. It will show me the section, and then it will show me the full text mention, where this reference has been mentioned in the text of the article. Okay. All right, so this is one of those few things that we have upgraded within Web of Science. There is also an enhancement to the advanced search. Okay, so if you click on advanced search right here, we have a advanced search query builder, because we are aware that not everyone is familiar with Boolean searching, but you might want to start creating your own Boolean searches right here. So you can do a topic search. Let's start with marine microplastics. And then you add to query, and it will automatically put in the relevant field tag and the format. If you want to add an additional topic to search, then you might put shrimp. Okay, and you can put the connector and or not, and add this to the query. And if you want to add the publication year, then you can just put in this here. So now this is a full Boolean search string, and you can click on search. And now we have this right here. Okay. Now, if you want to share this search string with any of your colleagues, what you can do is there's a copy query link right here. You can copy, and then I can put this into the chat box so that if you have access to Web of Science now, you can click on that same link and immediately replicate this search that I have just done. Okay, so you can make use of this to share with your colleagues. There's a question here. Does UMT subscribe to EndNote? I believe you have access to EndNote desktop, I believe, but let me confirm. But I believe you do have access to EndNote. Okay. All right, but just a quick reminder, EndNote Click does not require you to have access to EndNote in order to use. Okay, so anyone can actually install EndNote Click. Okay, the other thing that we have is we have improved the export functionality. Okay, so now if you have if you want to export this directly to EndNote, you can. If you want to add export this to any other reference software that you're using, there's a RIS export. We have an Excel export as well, and this is for you can export up to 1,000 at a time. So meaning if your search results is more than 1,000, you have to export this in batches. Then let me just check. Okay, so that's the advanced search. The other things that we have improved on, there is a structured search now. So if in the event you're in the chemistry, then you can also do a structured search. You can upload a model file, or you can actually put in the compound name to do a search. So this is an example. If I put in a compound search, then this is the chemical structures relevant, and I can then link out to the associated publication. So this is the article. Okay. Final few things I would share with you is if you have actually published articles in Web of Science already, I encourage you to claim your Web of Science author record. So your author record can be found here under researchers. Okay, so you can search for your name. I'm going to use Prof. Lam as an example because he's got a very comprehensive profile. So Prof. Lam. So you can search the full name now. And what we've done is we've algorithmically clustered the names together based on affiliation and specialization so that we will surface the correct record for you. Okay, so for Prof. Lam, he already has his profile updated, and that's why when I search for his full name, I'm immediately able to see his author record in Web of Science. So for Prof. Lam, you can see that he has a few awards, and these are all based on Clublon's awards that he has received before. Okay, and his previous published names, organizations, these are all within the record itself. When you're looking at the author record on Web of Science, you can see his full list of publications. Okay, so he has 292 publications from Web of Science core collection. We have recently enhanced this to include non-Web of Science publications as well. So if he had updated his profile with non-Web of Science publications, there will be a number here. Okay. He can also update his peer review records. So he has actually updated his peer review information. So you're able to see which journals he has peer reviewed for, his editorial records, and editorial board membership. On the right-hand side, this would be all the key metrics related to Prof. Lam. So his H index is here, and this is based on Web of Science alone, okay? And his Web of Science publications, his time cited based on Web of Science. There is a chart here called the author impact beam plot. I will open this up to explain more to you on what this is. So this is Prof. Lam's publications over the past recent 10 years, or you can also look at his full career. Okay? If I stick to the most recent 10 years, these little purple dots all represent each of his publications that he has published. So if you hover over any of these dots, you can see his article. So this catalytic microwave pyrolysis of waste engine oil using metallic pyrolysis chart. Okay, this has received 110 citations in 2015. So with this performance of citations in that particular year of 2015, his paper is performing in the 98th percentile. Okay, so this is means that amongst all the chemical engineering papers, his paper is performing in the top 2% of this field. Right? So you can imagine each of these dots representing his publications. So on average, you will be able to see his performance over time. And this becomes a more accurate representation of where he is in his career and where he is as an expert in that field. For more details of how to read this beam plot, there's always help available on the screen. So there is a chart here how to read this beam plot, and there will be an explanation here. Okay. So I encourage you to claim this record for yourself. So there's actually two versions of this author's record. So this one that you're seeing on the screen now sits within Web of Science. So only users of Web of Science will be able to see this Web of Science author record in full. There is a public profile. So if you click on View Public Profile, it takes you to Publons. So publons.com is the public profile for the researcher. Okay. So you can see here, he has 299 publications in total. This includes non-Web of Science publications here. Okay. Now, each of the authors in Web of Science, as long as they have published a article in Web of Science, they will be given a unique researcher ID, which helps to identify them as a researcher on Web of Science. Okay. So how do you claim your profile? Let me just quickly show you. So let me just go back to my search. If anybody wants to volunteer their name, feel free to do so. Okay. Anybody wants to volunteer their name? No? If not, then I will just find a quick example, yeah? So let's say, for example, I am this person. Okay. Let's see. Let's do Ahmad. Okay. So there are many Ahmad A's here. So let's just take one AF search. Okay, so what you see here is there are 21 author records on Web of Science based on this search of Ahmad AF. So this abbreviation can be representing many different versions of names. So say take, for example, this first one, Ahmad Anil. Okay, if this is your publication, just click through. Okay. So these are all clustered based on affiliation and specializations already. So you can see here he's from University Technology Malaysia, and he has his organization here, and he has 62 publications on Web of Science. So if it is him, he wants to claim his profile, he can go and click on Claim My Record. Okay, click here, proceed to claim this record. It will take you to Publons. If you already have a Publons account, then you just log in with the account, and it will then help to proceed to get you to curate your list of 62 articles to merge into your profile. If you do not have a Publons profile yet, feel free to put this in register for your own account on Publons so that you can go ahead and log in. Okay, so for this example, I'll just log in with my own ID just to show you as an example. Okay. So once I have logged in, you can see that now the 62 papers are already here in my dashboard. So it will be taken to a private dashboard on Publons. From here, you can just make sure and check that these are all your publications and papers. If there are some that are not, then you just untick before you click on submit. Okay. One thing to take note of is you have to be very careful at this step because all the publications will be ported over. So if you do not check, you might accidentally claim a paper that does not actually belong to you. All right. So I'm encouraging you to be more careful in the claiming process here. Okay. There is no benefit for claiming someone else's papers as your own, because everything is very transparent. So if any other researchers are there to see which are your publications and they go in and see the authors list, if you are not of the authors list, it will then reflect quite badly on you as a researcher. Okay. So do take note, make sure you curate this list, yeah? So once you have ensured that these are all your papers, just click on submit, and it will take about 3 days, 3 to 5 working days before you will be issued a researcher ID. And after 3 to 5 days, this record in Web of Science will have a green tick, and it will say that it is already claimed by that author. All right. If you want to include the non-Web of Science publications, you do that on Publons. Okay, so on Publons, if you want to add publications that are not Web of Science, you go to My Records under the private dashboard, go to Publications, Import Publications, go to the DOI import by identifier and key in the article title or the DOI of the article. Okay, so only published content will be able to be reflected here in your profile. Okay, if you have peer review for any journals, you can do so here under peer reviews, and you can incorporate all the review information. Okay. Now, I saw that some of you have volunteered a few names, so let me just pick one as another example. So let's try Ryan, okay? So I assume your last name would be Ferdian. No. Okay, so let's try Suriyawan. Okay, and then we have Ryan. Okay, I have to just check with you. Have you published an article that is indexed in Web of Science? Okay, because it has to be a published article that is indexed in Web of Science before I can find that name. Or if you have an alternative published name, then I might be able to search for that. Okay. Yeah, there's another volunteer, so let me try that. Shakya Rajesh Kumar. Okay, I'm not sure whether your Kuma has a R or a H. Okay, but let's try this one. Okay. Are you the this person? Okay, so it could be if this is you, then you can proceed to claim your record. Okay, if it's not you, then you could try an alternative search of your last name and first name, because sometimes it depends on how it has been published in the article. Some journals would have perhaps mixed up things like the first name, last name as well, and so on. So if I see Kuma, no. Rajesh. So it depends on which one is your first name and last name, and therefore you have to do it accurately. So for the Malay names that have a middle name, it really much depends on how you have put that in as an abbreviation. Okay, so just try a few different initials, first name, last name, to see whether it pops up. If all else fails and you have indeed published a Web of Science publication, you can always reach out to me and show me the article details so that I can try and see how we can efficiently search for your name here. Okay, so I encourage you to claim this in the first instance, because once you have actually received your researcher ID, you can use this as an identifier for yourself in the event of such confusion. So if you do an author identifier search for Prof. Lam, it will also pick up the correct person for you. Okay. All right, so let's look at the last few parts. So I've shown you the researcher search, author search. The other thing is the search history. So under search history here, we have put in a very detailed search history for you. So in the event that you want to replicate any of the searches that you've done in the previous few days, they are all available here for your retrieval. Okay. If you want to combine any searches, you do that in the advanced search. Okay, so under the search, advanced search, under advanced search here, if you want to add another query, okay, so perhaps you want to add this into the query, add to query with, so you add to query, add, okay, then we change this to N and do a search. Okay, so these are the 3 papers from UMT that talks about this particular topic. Okay. If you want to search for UMT papers, let me clear this. Go to affiliation. So under affiliation, you search for Terengganu. Okay, so University Malaysia Terengganu and search. So these are all the papers published by UMT. Okay. Then you can do an analysis here. So analyze results. You can see which are the subject areas that you publish in. You can look at the affiliations to see who are your collaborators. So these are all your collaborators. You can also go and see which countries you are publishing with. Okay, and you can click to view those specific country papers. The funding agencies, so who is funding your research? These are all the funding agencies that have funded UMT's research. If you want to take a look at those papers, you can do so by clicking on View Record. Okay. One more thing. So we have a app available. So we have a new app for Web of Science. It's called My Research Assistant. So if you want to install your if you want to retrieve papers on the go, you can actually download this app called My Research Assistant. So let me just find the link and send it to you. Okay, this is not to be confused by the Myra evaluation, yeah? So let me just share this with you. Okay, so this is the app that is available that you can download for iOS and Android. Okay, in order to use the full access for this app, do remember to register for your own account on Web of Science. So the registration can be found on the top right-hand corner of Web of Science platform. Register for your own ID and password, and your access will be synchronized with UMT's access on your app. Okay, so this is something that I wanted to highlight to you as well. Okay, so let's move on to journal citation reports. Okay. So for journal citation reports this year, the latest report is the one that was published in 2021 in June. So journal citation reports gets published on an annual basis, always in June of that particular year. So the report that came out in 2021 would include the journal impact factor, the 2020 journal impact factor for the journals. Okay, so the journal impact factor is always half a year delayed because we have to take that 6 months to retrieve the data for the full year and do all these calculations for the metrics that are reflected in the report itself. Okay. So for this latest release of journal citation reports, we have included the AHCI and ESCI journals into JCR. So now on journal citation reports, you now see 21,000 journals, and you are able to evaluate each and every journal before you send your manuscript for publication. Okay. I also mentioned earlier that only the SCIE and the SSCI journals will have a journal impact factor, but for ESCI and AHCI journals, they do not have. Okay, but they will have the other indicators except journal impact factor. We also have a new indicator that we have provided to all journals, and this is called the journal citation indicator. It is a field normalized measurement. So what does this mean? It means that when we are calculating this indicator, we have already taken into consideration the specific specialization or field, the document type, and the publication year. Okay, so when you're looking at this metric, you can use this metric to compare any specialization, any institution, any researcher. Okay, so this field is to compare the performance of that journal, and it's making use of an indicator called CNCI, Category Normalized Citation Impact, from Insights Benchmarking and Analytics. Okay. So for journal citation reports, we have expanded the coverage to almost 21,000 journals. I want to emphasize this again. AHCI, ESCI journals do not have a journal impact factor, okay? But they have a new metric called journal citation indicator. How would you use this journal citation indicator? I will actually share this with you now. So this new indicator here is very easy to read. So the number 1, so when you see JCI 1, it means that it is global average. So the global benchmark is always 1.0. So if you see any journal that has a JCI of 0.74, which is below 1, it means that this journal is performing below average compared to the other journals. Okay? If you see that the JCI is above 1, it means that the journal is performing above global average. So it's very easy to now compare one journal against another, and you can even compare the journals within the same quartile to see which one has a better performance. So what's the difference between these two indicators, journal impact factor and the journal citation indicator? The difference is that for journal impact factor, it is based only on 1 year citation and it is not normalized. Okay, so this is only based on the journal's information and it's a journal metric, journal level metric, meaning we take the citation counts only in 1 year to content published in the previous 2 years. So this is just a formula-based calculation. Whereas for the journal citation indicator, we have already normalized this in the calculation of the CNCI of each and every article. So each article's citations will be measured and compared against the other articles in their own specialization to get that CNCI. Then we average out the 3 years CNCI for all the content, for all the articles. So 3 years articles CNCI will be averaged out, and that will then give you the journal citation indicator. All right. So now there is a big difference between these two indicators. One is a journal impact factor that is not normalized. JCI is now normalized, and you can compare between different journals in different specializations fairly quickly. So which one is a better indicator? Both have their own benefits. So most of the time now, since it's released, the feedback has been that they have used both together. So in the event that now, for example, for Myra, you need to publish in, say, Q1 and Q2 journals of Web of Science. Then you use the journal impact factor to identify the quartile of that journal. Once you have identified the journals in those quartiles, you then use the journal citation indicator as a form to see which of these journals are performing better. Okay. So how do we do this on journal citation reports? Let me just bring you to the platform. But before we do that, any questions about what I have just explained? Or am I going too fast? Any parts that you want me to repeat? No? Okay, then let's proceed. So if you are on Web of Science and you want to go to Journal Citation Reports, it's a fairly straightforward link through the products link here. So the top corner here, you go to products, click on Journal Citation Reports, and it will open up the platform. Okay. When you're on the easy proxy for UMT library or VPN or offsite access, you will be able to go into this without logging in to browse. Okay. It's only when you want to use the personalization features like my favorites or customizing the indicators shown, then you have to register for your own account. If you have previously registered for Web of Science already, you can use that same account to log in to JCR. Okay. Now, for Journal Citation Reports, this is how the web page looks like. A few things have been improved. We have now got this new link called Match My Manuscript. So in the event that you already have a manuscript ready, you can use this to match your manuscript's abstract, title, and keywords to potential publications that you can submit to. Okay, so you can make use of this feature here. There, you can start by browsing the journals by the journal name itself or by categories. So let's say you are in a specific specialization, you can click on Browse Categories, or you can even search here. So let's say Marine. There is a category name called Marine and Freshwater Biology. So you can actually click on this category name to see the 117 journals in this category. Okay. So under this category of Marine and Freshwater Biology, the list of journals will appear here. Okay. There are 117 journals. this would include journals in both SCIE and ESCI. So the category will be listed here. So if you see SCIE, it means that it has a journal impact factor. That's why you see the journal impact factor reviewed here. If it's from ESCI, for example, so let me just see. Okay, so you can see here, if it has a ESCI here, it means that this journal is in ESCI and does not have a journal impact factor. That's why the GIF here is NA. Okay, you can sort this list according to any of these fields here. Now you can see this list has this indicators Judin is under my name. It means that I have customized this view. If you want to customize the view to include the various indicators, you can click customize and choose the specific indicators and save. Okay. Otherwise, by default, it will always show here as default. So it will always show the GIF portal and JCI and open access. Okay. If you want to export this list for your own reference, just click on export. And there's two options for you, CSV or Excel. Now, there is a export limit. So the limit is at 600. So if this list of journals is more than 600, it will only export the first 600 of that list. Okay, so make sure that you filter this down to 600 and below. Okay. If you want to see the details of each of these journals, you can click on the journal's name and it will open up the journal's profile page. So it will include all the details about the journal, its publication frequency, the journal impact factor, and how it's calculated. So you can actually click on view calculation to see how it has been calculated. The citable items list is here. So it means that these are potentially articles that you can refer to and view in Web of Science. If you go down to the journal citation indicators, this is the JCI for this journal. So this journal is performing 2 times better than any other journal in this field, in this category. Okay. The open access information here gives you an idea of how much of this content in the journal is free, okay, versus subscribe. Now, one thing I need to caution the attendees today is that now that we have the journal citation indicator, there are 2 ranks. Okay, for MIRA evaluations, currently they are still referring to the journal impact factor rank. So GIF quartile only. So you can see here for this journal, its quartile is Q1. Okay, now if it appears in more than one subject category, we usually only take the one that has the highest quartile. So in the event that it is in Q1 in one category and Q2 in another category, you can take the Q1. Okay. The journal citation indicator also has a quartile, so you have to be very careful. We indicate this as JCI quartile. So just take note, for MIRA evaluation, the quartile is always the GIF quartile and not the JCI quartile for now. Okay. In the event that you want to find out alternative journals to publish in, if you were rejected by this particular one, the cited half-life and citing half-life can be options for you to refer to. Okay, so this is showing you which are the journals that are citing this one. Okay, so you can click on this sources, and this would be journals that are citing this annual review of marine science, and it could become alternatives for you to publish in. Okay. Then as you scroll down, there will be more information. Each of these tiles will have some added information. So if you need to learn more about what each of these indicators mean, then you can click on Learn More to find out more details. So that's journal citation reports. And if you need any help at any time, there is always a resource center you can refer to. Same thing for Web of Science. You can click on this question mark at the bottom right-hand corner. If there's new features released, then you can go to product updates and it will show you what has been recently added. If you need more training, more detailed in-depth training, there is a help here and a link to the training resources. So you can click on training resources and it will take you to the training support page for JCR. There will be a guide. There will be guides available, videos available for you to refer to, and you can actually refer to any recorded webinars that we have previously conducted. Okay. Of course, if you need any help or you have any questions with regards to any journals, there is always the submit an inquiry. So there's a submit an inquiry right here. So you can submit a query here to our tech team who will be able to help you quickly. Okay. Sometimes this will be faster than reaching to me via email because they would have immediate access to the platform and therefore be able to advise you immediately on the question that you seek. Okay. So that's journal citation reports update. Any questions from the participants? You can unmute yourself to ask questions as well if you want to. No? Okay. So then in that case, I'll move on to insights, benchmarking, and analytics to do a quick update on what is new on the platform. So insights, benchmarking, and analytics is a platform that you can use to evaluate the Web of Science content in more detail. So the insights, benchmarking, and analytics tool includes more citation indicators. Okay, it will include more detailed citation indicators besides the time cited and the publication numbers that you see on Web of Science. Okay, it will also include collaboration indicators. So if you want to evaluate like your collaborations that you have done before, what is the outcome, that you can use this platform to do that evaluation. We also include open access indicators in the event that you want to evaluate your open access publications. Okay. So the data that goes into insights, benchmarking, and analytics comes from the Web of Science core collection, which I had explained earlier on. So the Web of Science core collection would be the 21,000 plus journals, the conference proceedings, as well as the books. Okay, so all these data points will be fed into insights so that you can do evaluation. What we have improved on this year for insights is that the interface has changed and been improved. We now have better visualizations, and there is everything is extremely flexible. So almost every single use case that you can think of pertaining to research output evaluations, okay, insights will be able to do. Okay, it doesn't perform as a standard report. Okay, so I know there are other databases out there that allow you to retrieve standard reports very easily, but for insights, what it does is it gives you the flexibility so that you can do more detailed analysis on specific sets of publications. Okay. So what you can see here is that you can gain a deeper understanding of your collaborations. So on Insights, if you go into the platform, you can filter by domestic collaborations, international collaborations, and even reveal the relevant indicators. So for today's session, because we only have probably around 20 to 30 minutes left, I will not be going into details on how to use the platform exactly. If you require a detailed training, please reach out to me so that we can specifically organize one training session on how to use Insights itself. Okay. Most of the time, the in-depth training is required by the research office or the administration within the library who need to churn out reports for the management. Within Insights, you can also now filter by author position. So for example, if you want to evaluate UMT's publications that are first authored, last authored, or corresponding authored by UMT, you can do so. You can then also add an additional filter to showcase the research area also. So you can filter by research area plus author position. You can also include baselines, so you can compare UMT's performance within the country compared to global as well. So we have global benchmark and country level benchmark available on the platform. I mentioned a little bit about the funding data that we have incorporated. So we have enhanced the funding data. So on our Web of Science, you are now able to look at the monetary value where available for the grants that you have received for your research. Now you can also evaluate your research areas by citation topic. So citation topic is something that we have released last year as well, where we look at the paper's topics itself to cluster them into categories. Okay, so this becomes a more accurate representation of your publishing, your research strength. We also have a new citation topic word cloud that you can refer to. So this is making use of the topic names itself to show you what exactly you are publishing in. Okay. We also have a new research area schema that you can evaluate. So on Insights, you can actually evaluate UMT's publications according to SDG goals as well. So we have the 16 SDG goals here for you to look at. So let me go to Insights to quickly show you around. Okay, so this is the platform. If you want to look at UMT's publications, you can do an analysis. So you can click on Analyze and go to Organizations. So what you can do here is immediately, you can filter this by publication date as well. So if you want custom years, you can set this accordingly. One thing to take note of is that the data set is a bit lag behind from Web of Science. So for Web of Science, it's updated on a daily basis, but for Insights, it's updated on a monthly basis. So you can see here, the latest data set is updated 1st of April last week. And includes Web of Science content index through March 12, 2022. Okay, so just take note that there is a time difference between the two. Okay, so sometimes the total number might be slightly different from what you see on Web of Science. Now, if you want to choose just UMT, you can do so by just typing in your organization name, put University Malaysia Terengganu. You can include the indicators fairly quickly here. So in the event that you want to add any of these indicators quickly, you can do so. If you need an explanation of each indicator that we have on Insights, there's an indicators tab. So before you add the indicator, you can click on this and there will be an explanation of what this indicator means. And then you can add this to your table. Okay. So for reporting purposes, sometimes you need to identify which are the Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4 papers published by UMT. Okay, you can do so by quickly retrieving this here. Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, and then apply. So when you are seeing this, so for example, documents in Q1, so these are the 458 publications in Q1 published by UMT. Okay, then if you click on this number, you can then download this list in a CSV, and this will be the articles for Q1. Okay. You can do the same thing by filtering down to specific research areas as well. So you can use the filters here to say for UMT publications, I only want those that are in a specific research area. You can filter this by research areas here. So I can either use the Web of Science categories for, say, marine, freshwater biology, and update. Then you have 226 papers that are in this particular area of marine and freshwater biology. And you can then export the relevant documents in Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4. Okay, so just take note, this quartile that I'm talking about is JIF quartile. Okay. If you want to have a quick look at overall UMT's performance and so on, you can immediately link out to this default report as well. So you can click on University Malaysia Terengganu and immediately see your performance over a particular date range. Okay, so you can see your contributions by research areas, publication by year, citations by year, CNCI by year. So it seems like for UMT, you are improving tremendously fast. Okay, so this is the baseline for Malaysia. So across the board for all Malaysia institutes, it's about 1.09 CNCI. But for UMT, you have actually overshot to 1.38. Okay, so that's a good thing. And this could be attributed to your Q1 publications as well. So you can see here, your contributions to Q1 has increased tremendously compared to the other quartiles. And that's why Q1 publications are always the emphasis here. Okay. You can also see your citation topic word cloud. So you have quite a large number of publications for rainbow trout. Okay, so you can see the 75, Decapoda. Okay, I'm not sure what that is, but maybe you know. And you have seagrass gasification. So all these are your research topics that you are doing. Okay. Then we also have your collaboration indicators here. So you can see your collaborations by country. Okay, which country you collaborated with. So your international collaborations are also going up. Okay, you can also see your collaborations by research area. So which research area do you have highest collaboration in? You have environmental sciences, and 349 are in the domestic collaborations. So Malaysia collaborations here. For other countries, you have China, Australia, and so on. Okay. Then which are your top collaborating institutions? They are all here. In terms of journal utilization, this could be something useful for the library. So it shows you which journals the authors outperform the others in the field. So Zootaxa, so all these journals are where your UMT authors are performing better than the others. So perhaps this could be something to consider in collection management to make sure that you're subscribing to some of these journals. Okay. These are the journals that you are publishing most frequently in, and also which journals you are citing. Okay. Okay. So, and all these reports are shareable, so you can actually download it as a PDF or just share it via email to any person. Okay. All right. So let me just go back. So the final thing that I'll show you for insights is the comparison. So let's say you want to compare yourself against other institutions in Malaysia. So I'm coming back to the organizations here. So if you filter this down to a location, so you can use the filter location and you put in Malaysia. Okay. Then you update the result and remove UMT so that it shows the other institutions. Okay, so across whole of Malaysia for the topic of marine, for the research area of marine and freshwater biology, UMT is in the lead in terms of the publication number. You can see the performance of your papers in terms of impact. So CNCI of 1.27, it means that you're performing above global average. So you are one of the good performers, top performers for Malaysia here. Okay, so you can use this to compare yourself across Malaysia for a specific research area. You can make use of visualizations as well. So if you go to visual, we have this chart which includes the 3 indicators into one. So for example, for UMT, if you want to see how your publications are, okay, so let's see. We shall include Q1, so percentage in Q1. Okay, so you can see now your Web of Science publications has gone up, and also your contributions to Q1 journals has also been fairly consistent and increasing. But maybe what you need to do is make sure that the percentage also correspondingly increase. Oh, so someone muted yourself. Do you have a question? Okay, no? So you can actually compare 3 indicators in one chart under the visualization. Do take note, you can also save this as a report. So if you want to save this to refer to in future, you can add to a report so that you don't lose what you were looking at. There are other visualizations here that you can make use of. So we have this thing called the impact profile as well. So the impact profile will show you how your papers compare to the other universities. Okay, so this is based on CNCI. So if you remember, 1.0 is global average. So what you want to see is more papers on the right-hand side compared to the left. Okay. Right. So I know that I've gone through a lot of things fairly quickly. So as I mentioned, for insights, it requires some time to go through in detail. If you require an in-depth training, especially for the research office or the administrators at the library, do reach out to me to conduct a more detailed training for each of you. And if you want to self-pace, self-learn, do self-learning, there is always a resource center again. And if you click on help, there is training resources right here. So if you go to the training resources, there is a self-guided learning that you can enroll, so you can understand the full information on insights, basics on bibliometric analysis, and how each of our indicators can be used. So feel free to enroll for this self-guided learning. All right. And so now this takes me to the end of the session. We have about 10 more minutes where I'm going to open up for any questions that you might have. I understand that I've gone through a lot of things fairly quickly. So feel free to shoot any questions you have to me right now. Otherwise, this is my email address. I also put that into the chat box. You can always reach me via the email. Okay, so any questions?
Hi, hello.
Hello.
Miss Lynn, can you hear me?
Hi. Yes, I
Okay.
can.
I'm Wahizatul.
Hi, Wahi.
I'm from FSSM, lecturer from the Faculty of Science and Marine Environment. Yes, I want to know just now that you showed to us the ranking of the citation of UMT according to the global and Malaysia baseline.
Hi. Yes.
Yeah, that one is based on WOS citation, right?
Yes, correct. It's only based on Web of Science data. Yes.
Okay, is it including the ESCI as well? Or
Yes.
okay, so how about if it's exclude the ESCI?
Okay. So if you want to exclude the ESCI, then I just untick this part.
Okay.
Then it just drops down to 207.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. And then another one question about there's one journal, data in brief. I think I noticed there's a one slide that showing the one of the highest journal that the staff submitted was in data in brief. Is it true?
Okay. Let me just go to that data. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. No problem.
I just want to know your comment about this journal. Is it true that this is not considered as a journal because it's very brief? And can you
Let
please
me
comment
just
on this?
let me just have a quick look for that journal. Yeah. So you were talking about this report, right? Is it this report?
I think yeah, but I noticed there's a one slide before this that showing data in brief, but I'm not sure which slide.
It could be the other one. Hang on, yeah.
Yeah.
Journal utilization. Mm. Oh, I'm not sure where I can't remember where we saw that already. But if you need to find out more details about that journal, let's see data. So this journal, data in brief. So I'm using journal citation reports to have a look at this data.
Yes, this one. Yeah.
This journal. So this journal is an open access journal. So it is an ESCI journal. And you will be able to see that its JCI is only 0.2, so not that great. One thing is that I can't comment whether it's suitable or not for UMT. I think it's very subjective because I'm not the subject matter expert. I won't be able to comment on that contribution. But one thing is that if it's an open access article, open access journal, it is indexed in Web of Science, it has been curated. So it should be a trusted journal that you can publish in. Only thing is that if it's open access, they might be required to pay an article processing charge. So it might require some kind of fund. So that's the only thing that I can comment at the moment. In terms of the contribution, like the documents, let me just check. Let's see.
If I'm not mistaken, this journal, it has been, I think I'm not sure, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, it was ranking as Q1, and then suddenly it dropped.
Oh,
Um,
okay. I see. So, yeah, so that could happen as well. So, like I mentioned, when we are talking about the article, the journals index in Web of Science, we continue to monitor them. So, if they maintain the quality plus impact factors that we have, that means the 28 criteria, all 28 criteria, they will be maintained in the SCIE or the SSCI and have a journal impact factor. But in the event that after a few years, they don't maintain their impact and better journals come up, then there is a chance that they can drop off the list. So especially think journals in Q4. Those are very dangerous journals. They are good, but if your aim is to be indexed in a quartile journal, Q4 can be a bit risky. Yeah, so that's something that I can comment on from that perspective. So with regards to the data in brief, okay, it might not have fulfilled the impact criteria anymore, but it is still a quality journal, and that's why it has dropped back into the ESCI. Does that make sense, Wahi?
Yes, yes. Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other questions? Puan Sharifah, has there been any questions that went directly to you?
No, Julie.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions? Feel free to unmute yourself to ask. No? No, then I'll pass it back to you, Puan Sharifah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mrs. Julie, for an effective presentation. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on board with us today. So I believe the attendees will have taken new insights from the session, right? Okay. So we have about 36 attendees this morning. So I would also like to thank all the attendees for your participation in all the webinar and activities that PSNZ has organized. Yeah. So we really appreciate your endless support of PSNZ. Before I end the session, a reminder to all the attendees, please fill out the attendee list, the attendance form by clicking the URL in the chat box or scan the QR. Yeah, I will share the QR code now. And so we will send you a copy of the recording after the session. So thank you very much and see you again.